My name is Kent Frelich. I'm from Empire, Louisiana, and I operate my family business from here in Empire. We have retail seafood business. We sell our shrimp that we catch on our own shrimp boats. We also have an all-field crew boat business where we take passengers and cargo back and forth to the all platforms in the Gulf. Here we're videoing some shots of Hurricane Katrina where we had our boats tied. This is my shrimp offloading facility in Empire, where we unload shrimp off of the boats, weigh them, box them, and put them on refrigerated trucks going to New Orleans for processing. This is where we rode the storm out. We're inside of the hurricane protection levees in Empire, which encircle the whole parish. We have a set of locks to our east and a set of floodgates to the west. When those locks and floodgates are closed, it totally encloses the parish behind the 17-foot hurricane protection levee. We're moored here. We have 32 lines on the boats. We had the boats breasted up together in the middle of the canal. We had 16 lines on each side of the boat. We had 50-foot spring lines, including in this mooring. So as the water comes up, as we expected it to we could break free from our shorter moorings and fall on the spring lines, and we could rise up 25 feet with the floodwaters as they came in. This is some early video, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a little dark, but you can see the roof of my shrimp dock and the office in the background. Also, my pickup truck is under that tin building. We estimate the winds here blowing maybe 80 to 90 miles an hour at 2 a.m. in the morning. It progressively gets worse through the night. We videoed most of all night, on and off, till the eye passed and came over. As the video goes on, I'll explain what's going on and what's happening. This is my all-field crew boat that is breasted up against us. We're tied together with bumpers between us. No one was on that boat. Everybody, all my crew and all we were on a steel shrimp boat. The crew boat's an aluminum boat, and it's not as sound as the steel shrimp boat. So we were all together on the steel boat. Figured we'd have better protection on the steel boat.
West of the mouth of the river.
55 miles?
55 miles southeast of the river.
Here I turn my side deck lights on so you can get a better view of what's going on. As I said before, that's my pickup truck under the tin building where we offload the shrimp off the boats. And you can actually see the tin roof is starting to rip apart there. It didn't happen all at one time. It continuously just kind of tore off a little bit at the time as the winds progressively got worse. This is probably 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and the winds are blowing estimated 120 miles an hour here. We didn't have any means of monitoring the wind speed, but we had reports at a parish government building after the storm that they had reports of monitored winds of 206 miles an hour gusts and sustained of 150. And here the rain's pretty much sideways, so now it's going sideways. At some points it's going straight up. It's really getting hairy right here. You can hear the cables, the guide cables you hear banging in the background. It's the cables in the rigging. It's the wind is blowing around and banging against the rigging and making that banging sound that you're hearing now. Okay, here now the water is starting to come in over the levees. It's approximately 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, and the water's passing over the docks here. It's actually up about 2 feet already. It's kind of pouring in over the levees. I have my spotlight shining down on the dock right there. It's kind of hard to see now. You'll get a better view in a little bit of the water coming over the dock. And it's actually coming out of the Mississippi River now over the protection levees and into the harbor where we're moored. The water is, like I said, it's coming from the east over the Mississippi River levee, and we have a set of locks that we go through to enter the Mississippi River at the back side of the boat right now, and that's where most of the water's coming in from. Right here, this is the water you can see coming up. That's a shot under my dock. You can barely see the front bumper of my truck now as we're rising. It's up 4 feet and steady coming up here. The water coming in. You can see that's a building to the right of the screen. It's got 8-foot walls. It's pretty much halfway covered with water now. These shrimp tanks that you're looking at there with the conveyor belt is about 3 feet above the dock space, and it's almost covered with water. Here the wind's blowing here. It's blowing the tin and metal around on that roof like it's just paper. This is pretty much the worst part of the storm as far as the wind, as the water's coming in. We figured it was blowing around 140 to 150 here. Like I said, we didn't have any means of metering the wind, but that's what we were figuring. This is the water coming down the canal where we're tied up from the Mississippi River. As it's pouring over the levees, you can see the debris coming down between the boats there. Pieces of houses and just everything you can imagine just floating around now. It's some other boats here that was moored across the canal from us. It's pretty much breaking free of the morning. Here the water is almost at its highest point, and that's the top of the shrimp dock that you were looking at first. And right now we're up probably 24 feet above where we started. That's a small yacht. It's up against a power pole right there. That's you can see the transformers at the side of the boat. And that's my ice machine. It's actually 22 feet off the ground here in the background, and it's almost totally covered the building. Just the top part of the machine where it drops the ice down into the building is above the water. This is at daylight, right as the eye is approaching and winds are starting to calm down. This is two guys that were staying on a smaller boat next to us in the canal, and their boat overturned and they made their way up to the top of my ice machine. It was unbelievable. We thought they were gone. We knew they were staying on their boat, and we kind of watched it go underwater, and we were hoping that they got off of it, and they did. They made their way up to the top of their ice machine there, and that's where they rode the storm. We didn't realize they were alive until daylight. And here, I stepped out of the back of the cabin as the eye was passing over, the winds was calming down, and we're videoing these guys making their way back from the ice machine to my boat, take refuge for the second half of the storm. Camera lens is kind of fogging up because we was inside the air conditioning when I came out. But you can actually see how calm it's gotten. This is debris that's just piled up against the side of the boat. It came from the east side of the Mississippi River. And these guys are they're wore out. They're crawling over this debris. It's 24 feet of water under this debris that they're crawling over. That's how dense it's built up against the side of the boat, just packed in there. And that's the roof of my shrimp dock there with all the tin peeled off. That's a smaller boat, actually my cousin's boat that was tied off next to the drawbridge in Empire. It survived the first half of the storm.
For the first half, I hope you make it for the second half.
There's snakes and frogs and this debris. It's hard to see them, but there's some snakes around in there where they floated on this debris as it came across the river. And we got one of them on the boat here. He was covered in diesel fuel.
Get the hose and rinse the diesel off of him. I know he's full of diesel.
Fuel tanks that was at the fuel dock that overturned and leaked out. And these guys are just wore out. They had a hard night. They're just glad the wind quit blowing and they're making their way back to the boat.
Come on, Howard,
We couldn't believe they were alive. We thought they were drowned for sure. Just trying to get a little bit of video so you can see how high the water is. That's my friend's house there, Hank Ton. It's 10 feet above the ground, and the water's to the eaves on the house, so it's 20 feet up right here. And right here, the whole town is completely underwater. This is the eye, still the eye. We had 2 hours of eye where it was calm. I mean, just calm as can be and quiet. And you can see here we're in pretty good shape. We're still tied together tight. Our lines are still hooked to their moorings, and we just wait for the second half. We were expecting it to be more clear than it was. It was kind of hazy fog situation, and it never did clear up. And I guess there's so much water and in the air from the rain blowing around. It was kind of like a mist. Pressures was unbelievably low. It's hard to explain how it feels to be in 920 millibars of pressure. It's very humid. The pressure is pushing outward from the inside on your body because it's so much lower than normal barometric pressure. Now, if you dive down to the bottom of a swimming pool, you feel the pressure pushing in on your ears. And this low pressure in the eye of the storm, it was actually pushing out.
Can't believe we got Harold and Norbert. Lucky man.
Now the wind's coming out of the west. The eye has passed. It lasted from 6:15 in the morning till about 8:15. So we had 2 hours of eye. And now the wind's blowing out of the west, and some of the boats that broke free of their mooring is now pushed up against us. And they're up against our bows and kind of banging around there. And we're holding them to keep them from moving any further down the canal. Actually, this is when we broke most of our lines that we were moored with, because these boats would get on top of it, and rocking as they are, they were cutting through the lines. And this is pretty much where we were most worried about losing our moorings and drifting up on the bank and getting grounded. But we were lucky, and all the lines held, and we were in pretty good shape. Here you can see the water's going down about 6 feet. We didn't know what happened, but the floodgate on the west side of the river broke broke, and it led about 6 feet of water that was trapped between the levees down. And actually now we're probably only 15 feet above normal sea level. And here the wind's probably blowing 100 to 110 miles an hour. And you can see the waves coming in. Now this is the back side of the boat. We came out of the back door because the wind's blowing out of the other direction, and we had protection from the cabin here. As the first part of the storm was coming through, the wind was blowing directly into the back of the cabin, so we couldn't get out on the deck. Now we're videoing some of the west side of the storm. And here you can see a dog that made his way on top of the forklift. He was swimming around in the open water, and we saw him, so we called him towards us. He started swimming towards the boat, and as the water went down, he made his way on top of that forklift and spent most of the storm there. You see, that's the top of my shrimp dock and my office trailer. And that's the ice machine behind that boat is where these two guys spent the storm. Survived the storm, I should say. Directly behind us here is the Mississippi River. And here's another shot. You can actually see how far the water's going down on the house. The house that was pretty much covered with water, now it's down about 6 to 8 feet. And this is a boat that broke free of its mooring. The wind pushed it up against my ice house. That's the St. Anne's Church in Empire. It floated up and turned sideways as the water was coming up. And that's the drawbridge that crossed the Empire Canal at Highway 11. It was almost completely underwater when the water was at its highest point. And if you see straight back there with the white top of that cabin in that boat, that's where the two guys were staying whenever the boat went underwater. They made their way out of that boat in the dark to the top of my ice machine there, and that's what saved them.
Almost 9:30. Should hurry up again. Got bad at midnight.
From the lake?
Yes.
Okay, and how much water did you say you had?
I've got 22 inches. It's just now starting to come into the house. And we've got many more hours, and I'm like, uh-oh. The attic is very tall.
We all need a sense of...
Winds are starting to die down a little bit here. They're probably blowing 80 miles an hour here. And it's continuously easing up.
I figured, well, that might float, but it might help me fly, too, so, you know.
Rosary, you make me laugh, and it's exactly what we need at this point in time. Please keep it notified what's happening in your neighborhood. There may be a lot of other people listening that can't get in.
Will
so if you can.
Oh, and something I did that I evidently been making a lot of people laugh, especially people who have left in that. When it started, you know, like getting really bad, I got a permanent marker and I wrote my name on myself and the emergency contact number. I said, I'm not planning on floating away, but that might fall on me.
My kind of person. Good luck to you. I hope it gets better. I hope that water goes down.
Thanks.
Let me read something to you real quick, and then Paul in New Orleans.
As the water goes down, you can see the debris starting to pile up, and and we didn't realize how much damage it was until the water started going down, and this debris is just piling up everywhere. There's another shot of the dog still riding it out on the forklift. We felt really bad for him, but we couldn't do anything to get him at the time. My pickup truck's under this debris somewhere. If you listen close, you can hear the ropes cracking as the debris just piling up against us, and the wind's blowing us back.
Don't drink the water in Jefferson Parish. Paul in New Orleans East, are you there? Alvin and Kenner, how about you?
Yes, sir.
Alvin, what's your situation?
First of all, I want to get rid of the formalities. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for my call.
Sure.
I've been listening to you without it.
It's another shot out of the back of the boat as the wind's progressively getting calmer. Some other boats that broke free of their moorings and they're grounded. They're floating now, but as the water goes down, they're going to be high and dry. There's a better shot of the house you can see as the water went down. Again, that's the St. Anne's Church. Now you can see the water that actually broke the flood wall there from the north side. It's rushing down south because the floodgate broke open on the south side of the wall, so the water pressure is actually pushing from north to south here between the levees, and it's rushing through that steel wall right there. You can see the current going south there as the water's draining out.
Got to the bottom of the yellow gate.
There's actually a highway under that support right there. That's a bridge guard. Drops down whenever the bridge is open. There's a highway under that. It's all my nets and all on the back deck. We lowered everything down onto the deck so the wind wouldn't blow it around. We got everything tied down so the wind wouldn't blow it off the deck. It's a refrigerated truck body that floated off probably a quarter of a mile from where it was at when it started. Now you can start seeing the boats just piled up everywhere. Couldn't believe what we were seeing at this point. That video you're seeing, it looks like a lake, but that was all land before. It's covered with water. Another wave of rain band coming through. Some more boats that piled up against the bridge there that drifted as the wind was blowing from the west. It's my cousin's little boat jammed up in the back there. We thought he was going to sink there, but actually he made it. Now the dog's trying to get off that forklift. If you can see, it's just like a grating on top of that forklift. He's standing there for 6 hours. He stood there on top of that forklift. He was trying to get into the window of the office building, but he couldn't make it. still see the water pouring through the seawall there coming from the north.
Look at the current coming through right there where the steel wall
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm telling you right now.
That's actually water that's trapped between the levees in Plaquemines Parish from the north side of where we were at, and it's rushing to the south. As the winds subside, we get outside and start taking some better video of the destruction. It's the parking lot of the local hardware store where that boat's turned sideways. The entire building is floated up and it's in the canal next to it. There's the old dog still sitting on top of the forklift. And you can see the water's going down probably another 5 feet right here. As the water goes down, you can see the roof of the ice house is collapsing, but up there behind that boat is where the two guys spent the storm, first half of the storm, and then they swam to the boat or crawled to the boat, however you want to say it, cleaned them up and gave them something to eat, and they went right to sleep. And that's the boat they were on when the storm was coming. Just turned it over and mangled the rigging. I still can't figure out how they made their way off of that boat in the dark. It was unbelievable. And this is the another hardware store in Empire across the canal by the shipyard. Now this is the on the starboard side of the Miss B. You can actually see some of our ropes going down that were moored. We were moored to pilings that actually under that boat right there. And you can see all of the boats just piled up everywhere. It's houses and destruction. Just we couldn't believe what we were seeing. Water still pouring from north to south through the seawall as it's draining down. Here's one of my crew members trying to rescue the dog off of the top of the forklift. Actually climbs down into the office trailer there and comes through the window and gets the dog, puts him inside where we feed him and give him some water. Right here we're just amazed at the destruction. We couldn't believe that our town was turned upside down in just a few hours. Here, the diesel from the fuel tanks and the fuel docks from around the area where the tanks floated free is just covering the water here. Actually, you can't see it too good in these pictures, but later on you'll be able to see it better. The diesel on top of the water. It's some big 180-foot pogey boats that are on top of the bank. They drifted from their mooring. the outriggers of another shrimp boat that's in the trees about a quarter of a mile from us. And here the water's going down here, and you can see that this boats are thrown about like you wouldn't believe. Now some Coast Guard helicopters are starting to fly around doing some rescue missions. They had some people in distress on the river levee about a half a mile from where we were that the Coast Guard was rescuing. Now the water's going down and you can actually see the boats just resting on docks and on top of buildings. That's a better shot of the 280-foot pogie boats on the bank. Those boats, the pogie boats are 1,400,000 pounds, 700-ton vessel. That's the Empire Bridge there. We're looking at the base of it. It crosses the Empire Canal. It's Highway 23. And some more, we figure it was news helicopters taking some video here. After the wind subsided, it's probably blowing maybe 20-25 miles an hour here. And I climbed up in the top of my rigging where I can get a better view of the destruction. You can actually see the diesel fuel that I was talking about there in the water, the red dyed diesel. And that's the bow of the Miss B there, looking at the top shot of it. It's a boat sitting up on top of the pylons. It was more too. As it came up, his lines broke and set him back down on top of the pylons that he was tied to. There's some more video shots of the debris that was piled up around the boat, and as the water went down, it just piled up everywhere. It didn't look near as bad when the water was up. Okay, that's my buddy's house. Water was up to the eaves on it when the water was at its highest point. You can see that the water level's back down pretty much to normal now. That body of water in the back is actually the Mississippi River. The water filled up between these levees. In about 30 minutes it came up and filled up between the levees, and it went down pretty much just as fast. Once the wind quit blowing and the tide started going out, it went back to normal within 3 hours. We was back at normal tides after the storm passed. This is a shot of the Empire Civic Center. It was totally destroyed. The building that stood Hurricane Betsy and Camille. It's gone now. This was a whole neighborhood you're looking at that it was probably 30 to 40 houses in this area right here is totally gone. This is a better shot of the pogie boats up on the bank here. It's 700-ton vessels just pushed up on a bank like toys. All of these smaller boats just piled up on the banks. And some big steel boats there, probably 200-ton vessels. More shrimp boats piled up. That's a 200,000-pound boat on high dry ground there. And actually in the foreground there you can see the two more pogie boats at the base of the Empire Bridge. They're crossing Highway 23. Straight back there, those two boats. They actually drifted probably a quarter of a mile from their mooring. And there's a shot of a couple of dogs that we picked up in the neighborhood that were roaming around trying to figure out what was going on. And we gave them some fresh water and some food. And they made a new home right there with us. Here's some video as we started moving around trying to see what the destruction was. And this is the Highway 11 that goes directly through Empire. This is a shot of the main road. The communications tower that made it.
Yeah, that's Locks. Way it used to be.
That's where the local bar was. It's gone. That's a shot back looking at the drawbridge that crosses the canal that we were in. Truck and debris that was pushed up on a bridge. That's a shot of the hardware store where the hardware store used to be. And a gas station. That's Tom's Place. Local restaurant known for its good oysters and good seafood.
Supermarket.
That's a local grocery store. You can see gas leaks and the gas lines bubbling up.
Pink over there catching shrimp.
There's one of my crew members catching some live shrimp, walking around this shrimp and fish swimming around on the highway where the highway used to be. And he's catching some live shrimp.
Trying to catch some shrimp by crawling shrimp ball.
We got shrimp on the boat, Pink, if you want to eat shrimp.
Another gas leak here. Gas leaks all up and down the highway that actually leaked gas for 3 days after the storm, before the lines bled off.
Got wet.
Sure what's left time.
I did, I got that already. Hey Pink, you still shrimping?
Yeah. What you got? Got 3 in here, 1 in the down. That's blind bait.
Pink always said he wanted to fish live shrimp. Now he's doing it. I don't think he wanted to do it this way though.
Give him this thing and have a drink.
Let me back up here a little bit. They live?
Yeah.
Shit, you made 75 cents today. Yep.
That's got to be an old one, huh?
Yeah, I think it's pretty old, that Dick.
Vibrating machine that came out of somebody's attic. I guess it was sitting in the middle of the highway there.
That's Mr. Wilkinson's in his house.
Just see the mud there that's piled up on the highway. It's just a total mess. And I got a shot of the roof of the hardware store that floated up and sat back down into the canal here. Just a minute. Right there. Petrovich's hardware was across the street. And then the water came up, it floated across the street and sat back down right in the canal.
Petrovich's hallway in the canal. And that's where it came from.
That's where it was. And it drifted over the highway through the power lines and sat back down in the canal when the water went down.
That's where it used to be.
And that's where the hardware store was.
And there's Petrovich.
You see portions of the road washed away there. The asphalt road washed down right there. And that's the Empire Locks there. That's where the water started coming over the levees first.
That water's right there when you walk back there.
Alright, I'll pick it up. That truck was sitting right here before the storm. That's right there.
It's just debris that was shoved up on the highway. Actually, that truck that's there on the bridge was on the levee behind me, about 300 yards, and the water pushed it up on the bridge, jammed it up in there.
9 inches. The water was halfway up that sign, the highest point. But you still got 6 more feet to the water. So it was up 20 feet. 20 to 22 feet at least. And this is another miracle we're fixing to watch.
That's my cousin's boat right here that it floated all the way up as the water came up, floated up to the top of that tree right there and stayed in place, and it floated all the way back down. We couldn't believe that it survived. We figured it was gone for sure. And that's us directly behind him down this canal. This is us as we moored off in the canal after the storm and the water went down. We're still tied exactly where we were before the storm. And this being the Miss Rona. If we would have broke free of our mooring, we probably would have wound up like these other boats up on the bank, stranded. But our plan worked pretty good, and we stayed right here in the canal. We rose up 24 feet with the surge, and then floated right on back down as the water drifted out. This is the dog that was on top of the forklift, and he's pretty happy to see me right now. We made friends after we got him off of that forklift and gave him some food. But he survived, and now he's just a old town dog. You can hear the cat crying in the background. It's under debris. We looked for it, tried to get it out, but we never could find it. It was trapped under some debris on that bridge. We came back a couple hours later, and evidently he got out because we couldn't hear him anymore. Some boats that were up on the highway that led to the shipyard. This is just some video of the town where the houses used to be. It was all houses through here that are just disintegrated. The only structure that's left is a church. This was all houses and mobile homes in this area. That was the bridge tender's office. That was completely covered in water. That counterweight that's above the bridge where the writing is had about a foot of that sticking up out of the water when the water was at its highest point. And that's another shot looking back at the boats where those my two friends were staying when the water came up, and that's a shot of us. Just the top of that blue line was sticking out of the water when that water was all the way up its highest point. And that's the house that was on the other side of the Miss B. Before the backside of the eye passed, then it wound up here. I don't know how. This is the inside of my ice house, what's left of it, and that's a drowned cow that came from the east side of the river, I suspect. That's where it came from. And he wound up here on the west side of the river in my ice house. And that's the other ice house that was over here. It's over there now. The roof of it anyway. Light dish made it. Here's a better shot of the two dogs that we kind of picked up on as we were walking around the town we found them. We didn't know who they belonged to, but they were happy to see us. We picked them up and brought them to the boat with us, cleaned them up a little bit, and gave them some food. And this was a clown here. He put on a show. He was kind of mad with us because we had him on that rope. He wasn't too happy.
Kind of mad, not because we got him on that rope. He ain't mad. He'll take that rope any day on the side of a hurricane.
Now this is 2 days later. We got off our boat and paddled around to see the destruction. We were paddling around in a smaller boat here, just videoing some of the boats on the bank, and that's actually two big pogie boats that's on the main highway in Empire at the base of the bridge. This is some smaller skiffs from anywhere from 30 to 50 feet that's piled up against the bridge and on top of the bridge, the base of the bridge.
No, I mean Chris Vallet. His boat was tied up next to behind Jared Allen. That's the Jared Allen right there.
That's a 70-foot shrimp boat. The Jared Allen, it's turned over in Empire Harbor.
Boy, took that boat right on out, huh? That boat that was in the water right there by his rudder? Yeah, that boat. Yeah. A shaft bent. Look how the shaft bent.
It's unbelievable to see all of these boats just pushed around like toys, scattered all around.
Yeah, the fishermen had a hell of a fishing season this year.
Yeah, these are the few boats that made it. There wasn't many boats in the harbor that survived, that stayed in the water, but they had a few.
Two there side by side.
Yep.
It's another shot of the pogie boats on the bank here.
The generator's still running on that one. I don't know how it ain't burned up yet.
You can actually hear the generators on these boats still running. That's a shot looking back at Empire right here from the south.
I knew I saw that barge from, it looked like that barge was up on the dock. It's just partially on the dock. Look at that mess around the corner right there. That's everything that was piled up in that harbor on the south side.
Where the hell did Gilnet come from?
He went up high as the power lines. He's tangled up in the power lines. I'm pretty sure that's Carrie's boat.
Chicago right there.
That's Boogie's boat.
That's that boat right there. That jack-up board that all up there over that mountain. Them jack-up boards might have an outboard. They got some more boats.
This is a shot of the local boat harbor where most of the boats in Empire tie.
This is gonna happen.
It's totally destroyed. They probably had 150 boats in this harbor before the storm. They just picked them up and pushed them around and threw them
No, that ain't Carrie's boat.
all
Carrie
over
took
the
his frames
place.
off.
That's Boudreaux's boat right there. Oh, houseboat. Yeah. Ain't that Boudreaux?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good friend of mine's houseboat. It's turned upside down.
Look at
Actually, it
Huey's
was his
truck over
home.
there. That's Huey's truck across the bay.
Go check.
Yeah. He took the Perfection out of here.
This is a bit that was bolted down to the bow of a boat,
But the boat wasn't good
and
enough
it was
for the
tied
boat.
off to the dock. And actually, it pulled loose from the boat, and it's still tied to the dock. The boat broke free and drifted.
It's a tough little haul, though.
You can see all of the boats that were in this harbor here are all scattered from where I am here to the river, to the Mississippi River.
This is the slip Carrie was in. Pretty sure. There's the sea searcher. Man, man, man. That's the sole survivor in Empire Boat Harbor. One. No sacks or pallets, but boats is all right. I think Chris was right behind him.
something didn't come flying through there and wipe y'all out.
Shit,
Well, we
that's
had four boats in front of us.
Yeah, I know.
Banging into us.
I know, but I'm saying how something didn't come hard.
They come hard. We just had.
And this is a shot of the Miss B and the Miss Rona, still moored in the canal where we rode the storm out.
Hey, you laughing? You know how many we got left? 4.
Yeah, that one rope was holding them when they switched
Hey,
around.
that Cunny boy, little skip right there when we broke through with the boat. I said, oh, we're going to wipe that skip out. We missed it by that much. Both ways.
All right, Paul. There's what was your house. That's the old building there, that galvanized building.
Okay, this is a shot of my house, or where my house was, actually. Still about 4 feet of water covering the land in between the levees. My chimney laying on the floor, living room floor. We're paddling over there to see if we could salvage anything. Now this is a shot of the protection levee that we're standing on top of that's supposed to keep the water out. That's an old house that was one of the only houses standing in Empire after the storm. It was up on pilings, so it was about 20 feet up in the air.
Old Gregory's truck.
And this is some breaks in the levee that where the water washed through when it came up at its highest point. It just blew right through the levees and the water poured out. This is about a half a mile from my house.